Hi everyone, welcome back to the Sallow Sea Sound. So today I'm talking to you from Paris. 𝗔𝗿𝗄𝗃 is in Hong Kong, and we also have
Hello.
our guest Nathalie in Jakarta. So Nathalie Muchamad is a dear friend with whom I've started working in the last few years in Taipei and in Kochi. And she is a French artist of Indonesian descent who was born and grew up in Nouméa in New Caledonia, and for the last few years was living or is still living, you will tell us, in Mayotte, where you hold different activities as an artist, as an art teacher, but also as a part of local art collective. We are very happy to have Nathalie here today to tell us a bit more about where she is from, where she lives now, her practice, because a lot of the thematics join our interests of our project on different topics in the Indian Ocean. So without further ado, I leave it to Nathalie to introduce herself.
Okay. So, hi Lou, hi Shi. Thank you for this invitation to your podcast. As Lou said, so I'm visual artist, and so I was born in New Caledonia, which is a French overseas territory in the Pacific Ocean near Australia. And I am the third generation of Indonesian migrants who arrived during the colonization time. New Caledonia has been colonized by the French since 1870, and when they arrived in New Caledonia, there was autochthon people that we call now Kanak, but it is not the original name of the people here. And James Cook, who arrived there, named this island New Caledonia because it remind him his own island at the time, which is Scotland, but at the time the name was Caledonia. So until now, this island still have the name that James Cook gave her, New Caledonia, and it became French. So the France has started to colonize this island, and in the 19th century, they wanted to develop some economy of plantation, and in this case they wanted to develop the plantation of coffee. And at this time the Dutch who colonized Indonesia, that we call now Indonesia today, has a big starvation, grand famine.
Yes,
because they monopolize the land to grow monoculture spice like sugarcane or indigo, and farmers didn't have enough land for themselves anymore, so people were starving. And at the time, as New Caledonia were looking for cheap labor, and the Dutch colony were searching to, in a way, empty the Indonesia, and so they sent some workers, but they were not simple workers. They were forced labor. We call them also coolie.
yes.
And so they signed a contract for 5 years, and they have I think it in the history maybe the first contract that was created. So they signed for 5 years, and during those 5 years they have to stay in the plantation. So in fact, they were belonging to a master, and that's how my family arrived, my grandmother, and to work in a coffee plantation. So that's the first link between. This is one of the links between the Indian Ocean and New Caledonia, because now I'm in Indonesia, in Jakarta. I am at good school with some 𝗕𝗂𝗰𝗆 members, and I was telling them my story, and they didn't know that there were some Indonesian people in New Caledonia, and also the link, because we almost don't know that the colonial administration were making collaboration sometimes, like that the Dutch sent to France some workers and things like this. And so that's that's the history of my family. And I grew up in the 80s in New Caledonia. And since they have been colonized, the Kanak people have always struggled against the French occupation. And all along this colonial history, there used to be protests very often. And also New Caledonia was a political colony jail. When the French government used to send political prisoners in New Caledonia in the 18th, like we say the French communards, la commune, and one very famous woman activist called Louise Michel was in New Caledonia at this time. And she really supported the Kanak struggle. And so there used to be regular struggle since the beginning. And when I grew up in the 80s in New Caledonia, there were one of the biggest struggle, which it has lasted around 10 years like this. 10 years of struggle, and at the end, il y a eu un accord. At the end,
there was a treaty.
They conclude.
Yeah,
there was a treaty of peace, because for the first time, the French government has accepted, because there were a lot of dead people in two sides, French side and Kanak. And the Kanak people said, we will fight until the last. Until the last, we will fight. And the French government as really could really see that they were ready to fight until death. Until death. So in 1990, they start a treaty of peace. And about the treaty of peace was mainly about how to decolonize New Caledonia. Even if New Caledonia stay French, for many reasons. I mean, in both sides, as autochthone people, they claim that the land back, they claim dignity, recognition of their own culture, as many autochthone people all around the world. And so since 1990, beginning of 2000, a slow work of decolonization has started, and peace. And but in last year, the last president, Emmanuel Macron, has voted a law who was completely against c'est à l'encontre, je sais pas comment dire.
Opposing.
Yeah, he wrote a law opposing this treaty of peace. In law, he wrote the right to for people for more people coming from the mainland, the French mainland. They give them more the right to vote like autochthone people, because in the treaty of peace, one of the first law very strong is that the vote for the law for local law is only for the autochthone people, because they become a minority. And has the French policy has made a policy of occupation. More and more French were coming in New Caledonia, and the autochthone people, the Kanak leader, were aware that more years after years they will become minority. So that's why they ask in this treaty that the vote, the right to vote is only for autochthone people. And last year, Emmanuel Macron has decided to make a new law, which was completely denied this right that was in the first treaty. So a big riot, a big protest has started since last year.
Yes.
But I'm not so. I was born in New Caledonia, and I left New Caledonia around 20 years ago now. But I still have family and friends. So and it's my country of hearts. And but now I'm living in Mayotte, so another French overseas. And Mayotte belongs to the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗃 archipel. So it's in Mozambique Channel, between East Africa and Madagascar.
Yes.
And so what was very special for me is that New Caledonia, the island where I go, New Caledonia, has struggled forever for his independence. And Mayotte is completely the opposite. They vote to stay French.
Yes.
Well, they claim they vote to stay French because they didn't want to belong anymore to the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗃 archipel, because the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗃 archipel is composed of 4 islands, and Mayotte, because those archipels, Madagascar, La Réunion, were under French colonization. So at the end of the colonization, the French organized a referendum, and Mayotte vote yes to stay French. So I arrived in Mayotte as a teacher of art in a high school, and when I arrived, I was already a visual artist. So I was quite curious. I had this job, and at the same time I was curious to arrive on this island who has voted to stay French. And so you must have heard that a big cyclone has
hit
almost completely hit Mayotte, completely destroyed the island. That's why also I stay longer in Asia, because I couldn't go back to Mayotte. The tower control was destroyed.
Yes.
And
I just add in here, the destruction was very complete. The airport was destroyed, so that was why after her activities in Taiwan, Nathalie could not return to Mayotte, which was originally planned, because there's no more airport.
It was last year or
The last days of last year, I think. C'était aux alentours de
14,
décembre. Yeah.
14 December 2024.
Yeah.
I cannot forget because
Yes.
I was watching the network, social network, and I really saw on a satellite the cyclone arriving on Mayotte. And what was really shocking for me is that as a normal citizen with an application called Windy, I could see this cyclone arriving on Mayotte. And the day before the cyclone hit Mayotte, I was with friend on phone, and we were talking about project. And I was telling my friend, let's wait and see what happening after the cyclone, because it was a public space project. And I was telling her, let's see before because most of time it happened once a century, this kind of cyclone. And because most of the time when there was a cyclone, Madagascar stopped the cyclone. And this one has succeeded to
go around,
go over.
Yeah,
to go around, and has hit Mayotte, and Mayotte was what we call in the eyes of the cyclone. So when you are in the eyes of the cyclone, it's very powerful, because you have one wind on one sense, and then when the eyes go on, you have the wind on the
tailwind. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the wind were very powerful, around 250 kilometers by hour. And what has shocked me is that I was watching the cyclone by the satellite, and I could really see the size, and I was thinking, wow, it's really a big cyclone. And my friend in Mayotte wasn't really aware. She said, yeah, we will see. She thought she was only a big wind, yes, because all the other year we never had cyclone. We have big wind because Madagascar stopped it. But this one hasn't been stopped by Madagascar. But I was thinking, if I saw this on the satellite, the French Météo, we call this, it's a national météo
weather channel.
Weather channel, but national weather channel. If I saw it, the national channel saw it, but they didn't alert enough the people. And even if the cyclone was strong, but for example, after the cyclone, for 2 weeks, people didn't have electricity, water, and food.
For 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and even today. So it happened on 14th of December, and we are the 8th. I have a friend who still doesn't have electricity and telephone, and the airport is still destroyed. The government sent from the army a mobile tower control. So we supposed to be French. I mean, French is one of the 10 powerful country in the world. I mean, 3 weeks after, we still do not have a tower control. Some friends still doesn't have water and electricity or connection, internet connection or telephone. And that's how our island are treated as a second or last zone of citizenship. So even the whole world has noticed this, and the New York Times, the Guardian, all the international press has made some report about Mayotte and has noticed and has said why this happened. And for example, UNICEF has proposed to help because half of the people in Mayotte are children, and France has refused. Why? Because UNICEF help poor country,
And France is not
France does
supposed to
not.
be a poor country.
Yes, we are not supposed to be a poor country, so we don't need UNICEF, but we need UNICEF. You know, I'm a teacher, and half of my students still hasn't been found because they still didn't send any rescue in the collapse house, dans les débris,
In the ruins.
Yeah, they still haven't sent the rescue in the ruins. At least to take the dead body or to see if people are is injured. So, you know, my neighbor told me it smells the dead body. You can smell the because my neighbor they were hunter, so they know what is the difference between a human body smell when it is dead or animal dead. And many people told me it smells dead body. We don't have water with so you know, I don't have to speak much. You just have to look at the international press to see how we are treated in this island.
It's the biggest cyclone in history, or is the biggest cyclone you ever experienced in your memory?
No, because France has other overseas islands in the Caribbean and New Caledonia. When I was small, every year we have cyclone in New Caledonia, and it's a French administration. So I remember when I was small, when the cyclone arrived, the security make a big announcement on TV and explain you to stock water, food, to stock. But in Mayotte, nobody said anything. I mean, they alert the people 2 days before, only 2 days before. Maybe you should go to because a lot of people in Mayotte live in a very poor situation, in a very small house made with
it's like a shed. It's very makeshift. It's not a very solid house.
Yes, and so the authorities explain to the people, so you can go to the high school to but they explain this only two days before the cyclone hits. So people were not really worried, you know, because they were thinking, if we are not, if they alert us only 2 days before, like usually, we don't. There is nothing to worry about, you know, and so because of almost half of the population who live in this poor home doesn't have a French paper. Most of my students doesn't have a French nationality and doesn't even have paper. In fact, they don't exist in the official way. So even if they are dead, nobody will know that they are dead because they do not exist in the anywhere.
Yes, I understand because last time when we met, Nathalie, it was in Taichung for your exhibition. You exhibit a new work at the Asian Art Biennale, and for your artist talk, you also give a presentation about the French overseas territories in the world, not just in the Indian and the Pacific Oceans, but also, for example, in the Caribbean and up north close to Newfoundland, etc. And I think only when you put it on a map, it's very striking to see that France still possesses so many of these quote unquote departments, but that were colonies and remain somewhat in a status of colony. In a past episode of our podcast, Jean and I talked about Chagos, which was the last British territory in the Indian Ocean. And now that the British have surrendered Chagos, they no longer have a piece of land in the Indian Ocean, but France still has a lot of that everywhere in the world that we don't talk about enough. And I know this type of situation and how they came about in the economy of the plantational scene and the migration of products and people are very prevalent in your work. I know we've already talked quite a bit about New Caledonia and Mayotte, which are the important places you've been living at. But before we wrap up, can you tell us a little bit about I think the main driving force of your practice as a visual artist?
So I mainly practice installation, and because I see installation as a space where I invite people to where it's a space where I tell a story to the viewer. And you have I put different work which are like clue. They are clue to invite people to imagination. And I mean, when I was a student, I was really interested by the powerful of fiction and how fiction has the powerful to become a memory, as for example, as create a collective memory, because the issue I'm dealing with mainly is about history. I notice how the history of the overseas and the people from the French overseas were completely absent of the history. And I remember that when I was younger, in high school, I noticed that any of our island we never had heard any history about our island, or even about, for example, Indonesia. And I was just saying myself, oh, it's because we are poor country, we don't have real history, real interesting history, so that's why there is no need to talk about. So, at the end, you really convince yourself that if you don't belong to the official history, it's because those history doesn't count, is not enough important to be in a history. And I'm not here to tell the truth or to be a documentarist, but I tell a story, and this story concerns mainly the French overseas. And for example, the installation that I proposed in Taiwan is about the history of the breadfruit. So the breadfruit, sukun in Indonesia or uru in Tahiti, it's a fruit which has been brought from the Polynesian area, from Tahiti to the Caribbean, first in the English Caribbean island like Jamaica, and then to the French colony. And because at the time, during the slavery time, the British company was looking for a sheep and a tree that could give a lot of fruit to feed the slave. And
You mean
James
coolie or
and
coolie
slave.
or slave? Slave.
At the beginning, African slave, and then the coolie arrived and the other people, and so that's how the breadfruit arrived in the Caribbean island, and it has spread in all Caribbean and even South America, and we can and even in the Indian Ocean, like Madagascar, Mayotte, La Réunion. They follow the road of slavery. It wasn't trees coming from those territory. And most of my work, there is this history, which is parallel history about plant, spice, and people that has been displaced of forced displaced for the plantation at the time slavery or and then colonization time. And, as for example in the French overseas, we don't have much archives about how slaves were feeding themselves. But in the oral, in the people that story that people are singing or tell oral story.
Oral story.
Oral story. That's the way that the knowledge is circulates. And when I realized this lack of archive, and because archive is a kind of proof, and but archive doesn't mean that something that tell about a certain reality, but it's not a proof. And so when I noticed that there were no archives about this kind of the everyday life of slaves, for example, I realized how fiction could be a really empowerment tool in order to heal a memory of time.
Thank you for sharing. Zhiying, do you have any questions?
It's very interesting for me that because me and Lomo we have been also discussed and also focus on this Indonesian international connection also through the coolie network. And of course, a lot of coolie or slavery, they are producing food for the global north. But it's also very interesting that you are focusing on the food which is provided to those workers, and that I haven't really thought about before, and it's very interesting point.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much for today. You want to add something, Lomo?
I was just going to say that we will include some links, images, and information about the different places and works of Nathalie's we talked about. And we also hope to invite you back sometimes in the future to discuss in more detail because you have a lot of experience and knowledge about the Indian Ocean region that we can definitely learn from. I think maybe just as a guys for our last question before saying goodbye, can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on next? What is your next project about?
In 𝗕𝗿𝗁𝗄, in the installation, there is an extract of a movie called Mutiny of the Bounty, because from the Breadfruit story.
Yeah.
So the British company at the time sent a boat called the Bounty. And maybe have you heard of the story of Mutiny of the Bounty or the film, the movie?
Yeah, we can link that as well. It's actually a couple of movies, but the one you referenced in your work is quite known with a lot of very famous Hollywood actors of the time, like Marlon Brando, etc. Yeah.
Yes, it's with Marlon Brando. So 3 movie has been made. one with 𝗕𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗃, one with Marlon Brando, and one with Mel Gibson. And so the bounty has been sent in Tahiti to get the trees, and after 3 months, they have to stay. The bounty have to stay 3 months in Tahiti to make grow the smaller trees, and a mutiny happened. The sailor didn't want to go back. They had to go to Jamaica, but in fact they didn't want at all to belong to the English Navy. And when I'm talking about this movie, because in the beginning it's very clear. Everything is explained in the movie. You have the gardener from English Botanic Garden, the Royal English Botanic, who explain we will go in Tahiti to get the breadfruit and everyone who has watched this film remember that it's about a mutiny, it's about Marlon Brando and Tahiti, but no one never has remember that it is about the breadfruit history. And that's all. It's for me. It's the history of those sailors, those men, those European men who goes to Tahiti, and has completely erased even in the movie. So I was really interested about the erasure of this memory, and I was interesting to go deep in this fact. I mean, how we can. I want to question more this erasure of the memory, even in Hollywood. And yes, so it is something that I want to work more about this erasure in the cinema also.
Well,
and the kind of colonial gaze on the body of body Asian woman, because those movies has really creates a stereotype of the woman from the island. So it's still about what we call the fruit défendu, because women are like in the Bible.
The forbidden
fruit.
Yes. Yeah. And so we look forward to that. Keep us posted about your work, where you're going to exhibit. Qiyin and I will also be back in Reunion this summer. Mayotte is not far. We look forward perhaps to seeing you in Reunion, or we shall also try to visit in Mayotte if at the time the island has recovered enough to make that possible. But thank you so much for sharing with us. And I think it is also timely because of the unfortunate cyclone event that's recently happened in Mayotte. It's not something we hear a lot about, particularly in Chinese language news, but it's a major natural catastrophe. And I think also it's something that we should talk about more.
Okay. So if there is one session need to make something, some details clearer, I'm free for if you need. I mean.
Yes, we very much look forward to that as well, and we will keep you posted, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.